Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Flicker Effect, episode 258. We're recording this on Sunday, June 24th, 2018. I'm David Lott. Joining me this week is Bobby Jackson.
Hey, what's up?
And Michelle Hillard.
Hi, everybody. Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
Hello. Good. You?
It's pretty good. I have a voice. Basically, I have a voice again. It's a little low still, but I can speak. Last weekend, we had to take the weekend off anyway. And it was a good thing because, well, at least I wouldn't have been able to join you.
Yeah, you weren't really talking very much that weekend. Bobby, how you doing on the West Coast?
Far as?
Life.
Oh, in general stuff.
Passions, weather. I don't know. Talk to us.
Everything's all good right now. Nothing specifically going on just yet. Waiting for Comic-Con. The countdown begins. You know,
What's the countdown at?
We're
trying
there.
to get ready for that, though.
What's the countdown? I don't have a countdown.
We
countdown?
We are T-minus. Yeah, it's happening. It's getting exciting.
It's like, what, 3 weeks away at this point?
Maybe 4? Maybe?
I think it's like basically 4 weeks.
It's awesome.
I don't know.
It's so exciting.
Anyway.
3 weeks as of this Wednesday, if you're counting preview night.
Right.
Okay.
Yep, there it is. Man.
There it is.
Are you creating a countdown?
No, I was trying to find if there was a quick, like, somebody had already made one or something online just to get an exact, like, day count.
You know, there's those things you can, like, download and you can put a date in. You can have a constant countdown, like, on your phone and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You're like, countdown to the vacation. What?
You know, one thing we haven't, we keep saying we're going to do every year, we never sign up for it, is seeing Conan at Comic-Con. Like, is that already...
Oh, my God, we need to do that.
Has that already passed, like, getting tickets to that? Have you heard about it, Bobby?
From what I understand is, I think it might be only 2 days this year. I think the schedule of it changed. It may not be the same type of 3 days in a row thing, but I'm pretty sure he'll be there. And I think if you get, if you don't already have tickets, there's a thing where there's like a possibility to get tickets if you go in line between certain hours and kind of stand there. You can kind of get some of those extra tickets. But aside from the ones where you can actually get them ahead of time, I'm not really sure because I never tried to get them.
Yeah, I haven't tried yet either.
I was going to say, I don't know if it's like a lottery system or something. I have no idea.
I just know every year I'm like, man, Conan is like basically my favorite late night guy, and he's right there in town, and this seems obvious, and then I never do it. I don't understand why.
I'm shocked that you've never done it. Because, you do, like, if you watch a late night, you watch Conan. And so that's why I'm like, wow. That's surprising to me.
Yeah, you know, some things are just odd. I don't really have a good explanation.
We should try it. We should try to do that this year.
Look into it.
I'm super down for it.
All right, what else? So it was it's been a big box office weekend.
Oh, yeah?
Big couple box office weekends.
Yeah, since we missed last weekend, the Father's Day weekend.
So what? Incredibles 2 pulled in, I don't have it right in front of me, I think 180 something in its opening?
Yeah.
That's baller.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's baller, dude.
How does that, I mean, I know Toy Story, what was that, 3 pulled in a ridiculous amount. I'm thinking of Pixar films now.
I'm trying to remember what Toy Story 3 did. It was crazy, though. I remember it was like, what?
Yeah, Incredibles 2 pulled in 182.
Wow. And
domestically. And it didn't drop much.
Oh, no?
Well, I mean...
Well, it dropped.
It definitely dropped. But I should say it still pulled in a lot of money. Yeah, what did it drop to? Like 80? Yep, about 80 million. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom did pretty well. I felt like that one was it was kind of a head scratcher. It's like, man, Jurassic World pulled in so much money. It seemed like, man, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is like, well, it's going to make crazy money. But then it seemed like buzz wasn't really there.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's one of those movies that's also hard to tell.
Yeah, I think that's how I felt about it. Like, I was like, this could either do really well or it could kind of flop, kind of, sort of, ish.
I mean, yeah, it didn't make as much as Jurassic World did, because Jurassic World, I mean, it still blows my mind how much that movie made in its opening weekend. Because, yeah, what did I had it right in front of me just a second ago. It had made like 200 and something, right? 208.
Oh my God.
But Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom made 150 this weekend.
That's still pretty good.
Oh, yeah, that's quite good. So, yeah. I assume we've all seen Incredibles 2.
Mm-hmm.
I finally saw it.
Wait, finally saw it. You didn't see it opening weekend?
I did not. I was at a family wedding, so yeah, that just didn't happen. You know, wedding weekends are kind of just how it is. But I finally saw it.
You've been pretty pumped about Incredibles 2.
Because I love The Incredibles. It's one of my favorites. Oh, I love The Incredibles. Yeah, no, I've been to say that I'm excited about this film is dumbing it down a bit.
So what'd you think? You saw Incredibles 2. You saw it today.
Yes. I loved it. Like, I'm very happy with that film. I feel like the obvious that Jack was probably going to be the one stealing the show, and that definitely is what occurred. And I'm super okay with it. Like, I wish I could say I hate on that. I don't. I loved it. It was great. Yeah, I don't know. I thought the comedy was really good. I thought the story idea and the storyline was really well done. I liked the villain a lot, and you know, and I'm gonna say, and it's not giving spoilers away, it's, you figure it out a little bit, and it's cool. I'm cool with it. Like, it's a kids movie. Like, but I liked it. I thought everything just worked really well. I like, you know, how the kids are kind of growing in their own little different ways, and you can kind of see their little personalities are really starting to come out in Violet and in Dash and in Jack as Jack experiments with his powers, which is one of the major highlights of the film, I think. Yeah, no, it's good. Like, I'm very happy with this film. Like, the action in it was really good, I thought. And yeah, no, this is going to be one of my favorites again, for sure. I'm definitely super happy with this film. It just gave me all the good feels, and yeah, no, good.
So for you, is it up in front of or behind the first one?
Ooh, I mean, I would say it's behind the first one, but like not like by a lot. Like, they're butted up against each other, I would say.
Or you could say they're the same.
I don't know. I think I have to see it again to say that they're the same.
Right.
Because I've seen that first one so many times. I love the first one. I think I would need to watch this one a second and third viewing to be like, okay, yeah, no, good.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Bobby, what'd you think of it?
Well, the first thing that struck me about it when I watched it was that it didn't altogether seem as kid friendly. I don't know. That was just my impression.
I agree.
Because, yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, this was made for the adults.
It really felt that way.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't seem like. I mean, there was definitely a good amount of action in it, and there's absolutely good visuals to it in those aspects. But a lot of the themes and a lot of the stuff that was going on when there wasn't action, it just felt like it was speaking more to all the adults that went to see the movie more so than any of the younger kids that were watching it. And I don't know that this has happened, and it doesn't seem like it maybe, but it wouldn't surprise me if kids probably weren't as into this one as they maybe were the last one, just because of some of that and some of the aspects going on there. But I really loved it a lot. And I think what made me really take to it this time around, as much as I did the first one, was not necessarily the themes that were at play there. That was fine, where you have everyone kind of switch roles, where Elastigirl is front and center and doing her thing, and she shows just how capable of a hero she can be, and doing it in a way that makes sense. Kind of like how it looks, at least from preview wise, the Ant-Man and the Wasp looks like, where it looks like Wasp is a badass and she's pretty much perfect as a superhero, and yeah, Ant-Man's kind of the one just needs to take notes kind of thing. It kind of looks like that. But I think that the things that stood out to me is the way that they visualize the use of their powers, and not just theirs, but the other people who had abilities in this movie as well. Just seeing them realized in a way that I always like to see when, if I'm reading an X-Men comic book or seeing them in cartoon or something, see those action sequences where you're like, that's how someone who has those powers should be clever enough to use their abilities. And I thought that really felt like it was pulled out of something from comics and put into motion. And that part of it really resonated most with me. And yeah, like you said, Jack is just so much fun to watch, and just seeing the different things that he does as a character. And it seems like beforehand there was a lot of talk before we knew anything of whether or not, once they were going to do this Incredibles 2, whether or not they would age the characters up or if they would keep them the same. And once they made the announcement of that they were going to be the same and continuing from the first movie, I didn't know how I felt, because I kind of did want to see that sort of aged up and see where they would take place. But after seeing this, I felt like, yeah, it was a good choice to make for them to keep them at that same point in age and really picking up right where the last movie left off. And I felt like it really worked for this story.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it played in well to how the story is unfolding and why they're doing what it is that they're doing. It just, yeah, no, it worked really well. And I have to piggyback on what you said. Like, I like seeing the supers work together, even supers they don't really even know. Like, watching Elastigirl and Void kind of play off each other.
Yeah,
it was cool. You know, like I was like, oh wow, look at them go. Like, it's, I don't know, stuff like that. I love that too.
Yeah, and I'll agree on the being for adults kind of thing.
Yeah,
I was thinking the same thing during the movie. Not only for the reasons you mentioned, Bobby, like about the themes and such, but just the pacing of the movie at times.
Yeah.
Which I thought was fine as an adult. You know,
right.
I don't have any complaints about the pacing, but for a kid's film, it was definitely just overall felt like a more adult movie. But that said, my 6-year-old saw it and he loved it. So,
yeah,
you know, but yeah, I echo that thought that it would seem like a more of an adult film.
Yeah, I mean, like I like, yeah, it's fine with me that it's more of an adult film. And honestly, and here's the thing: is I was younger when the first one came out, and now that I've aged 14 years, like
aged with it, kind of thing.
Right? Like I'm kind of like, yep, that's fine with me. Like I'm super okay with this. But no, it's, you know, there's a lot of jokes about. And I don't even think of it to be a parent. I think basically if you say have a child in your life that you're around a lot and you know them really well, you relate easily to the things that are happening to, you know, to Mr. Incredible with his kids, like the situations he gets thrown into and how he kind of takes care of things. Like you're like, yeah, no, he's just holding together. Go you. Like, and just, you know, I don't know. I was just like, yeah, it's relatable, I think, to almost any adult who has a child in their life. They could be like, oh, yeah, I know that well. But, yeah, it still works out well because they had all the comedy, especially with Jack. You know, and there's that whole scene with Jack at the house. The big one that it was definitely it keeps kids interested for sure.
Yeah. I mean, without talking spoilers, yeah, basically the first time you see Jack really get to do his thing.
Oh my God, so funny.
It's an incredibly good scene.
So good. That's so well.
Yeah, the movie's great. I haven't said yet. Yeah, I love the movie as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what else to add on to from what you guys have already said. I echo basically all of your thoughts, but I also really enjoyed it. Yep, Jack, as you would expect, kind of steals the show. But at the same time, they don't overdo it. Like, you could have really gone overboard with Jack, and then it probably would have gotten maybe just too much, a little old, And
No, I totally
luckily
agree.
they didn't do that.
I feel like they balanced him out well and used him when necessary and kept
Right.
jokes with him running throughout, but not overly utilizing certain jokes.
And he gets that one really great scene. And yeah, he's got some other stuff, but really that one scene is just,
Oh my God. I think I
It's-
almost had tears in my eyes.
yeah.
It was
No,
hilarious.
So good. But and then there's even a moment in that, which will kind of go along with something else that I liked about the movie as an adult, is that overall the movie has somewhat of a darker tone to it. I felt like, and even in that scene, there's a moment when he does one of his abilities for the first time, and you're like, "Holy shit!" Like this is almost scary. Like, you know, and
Jack's intense.
he is.
He's an intense little baby.
And it works. Like that may sound ridiculous to someone listening to this who has not watched this movie, but it's awesome. Like Brad Bird, that guy's, he knows what he's doing.
What did you guys have any thoughts with like the villain in this? And I realize we can't say a lot about the villain, but I liked the villain, and I liked what the villain was coming from, like the viewpoint. Like I felt like I was like, I understand it. I don't agree with it, but like I understand it. I thought it was conveyed well. And the downside to that is I felt like it was almost it was a much more adultish tone to what that villain's, not primary objective, basically what was driving them to do what they were doing. I was like, this is a pretty serious motive here. Like this is and I don't think kids need to understand the motives of a villain. And when I watch films like for kids movies, but I was like, man, that's dude, that's deep.
Yeah, no, I like the villain. I will agree with you. I mean, I found them in respect to the villain. Like I definitely found the movie very predictable. Like,
yeah,
very much so. But I agree, it didn't really bother me.
Yeah,
I mean, part of me was watching it going, I really hope that when things come to light, the movie doesn't make a bigger deal out of it than it needs to, because then it'll annoy me that it's supposed to be thought that maybe I shouldn't have known this, but come on. Like,
the reveal scene I thought played out well. It was like you kind of felt that it was coming, but it wasn't like just beaten to your head. It was done well.
It was done well. So I agree that it was predictable, but it didn't bother me. I like the villain. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I like the villain.
Yeah, no, I was surprised. I was like, yeah, I know, I like this one.
Yeah, Bobby.
Okay, so I guess I did like the villain, but I think I have more of a problem with the reveal than you and Michelle, because I do feel like, because of what we said earlier, that this movie felt like it was catered more towards adults than kids. And the fact that as an adult watching this, you could see that coming a mile away. It felt like, well, you're kind of letting me down here when you've been so smart about everything else. So why not just... Yeah, it just felt a little clunky in that. I like that villain in and of itself and what that represented. I just thought like it could have been played out a little bit differently compared to what everything else that we saw that was surrounding it, which all felt very smart and realistically done. But it's like a minor gripe, but it didn't really affect my enjoyment of the movie.
No, I get that. What are your guys' thoughts on Bao, on the short that was before the film?
I really loved the short. Like almost cried during the short. I mean, I don't know. It was definitely, as it was progressing, I was like, this is different. I don't really know what's happening here almost without getting into it. But yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah.
Well,
It was really good. I thought a lot of the same things as well. And there's just there's a moment in there that's, I felt pretty shocking. Like I audibly gasped as I was watching it.
Right.
And other people in the theater were laughing. So I was like, okay. I don't know that
same thing happened in my theater. Yeah. Like there were people like, it was a mixed reaction of people like gasping, like, holy shit. And then like people giggling. And I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah.
It was an awkward thing. I even like, I think I was like, oh, wow, that was slightly disturbing. I don't know what to think right now. Okay, and yeah, like, and I think it was mostly like kids were kind of giggling because I think the kids almost didn't even know what to do. Like, wait, did that just happen? And I think for kids, it was even like, I don't even know how to react to this myself. So
Right.
their reaction is, well, I'm just gonna laugh because maybe it's supposed to be funny, and so maybe that's kind of what it was, I guess. But no, I thought it was a cute short. It starts out, and you're definitely like, wait, what's happening? Oh my god, I love this so much. And then as it progresses, you're like, huh, well, this is going down a path I didn't think was going to be happening.
It was
And
just
I'm saying that not because it was a bad thing. It was just more like, oh wow, totally did not see where this is going.
it was really effective, I found.
It was.
Like Pixar, yeah, not only do they make great films, but goddamn, they can make really effective, very extremely short little shorts that, tells a story, tells a message, and doesn't take long, and in a very, very unique way in this case, I think. And I was like, wow, yeah, that was good.
It was good. So yeah, people, get out there, go see Incredibles 2. Make sure you get there on time so you can watch Bow.
Yeah. Yeah. Which it was funny, like not seeing it till today. And, yeah, I know Incredibles 2 is going to be popular, but I'm like, all right, I'll check out the local theater that's got reserved seats, a couple hours before the showing. And I'm like, holy shit, like basically only the front row is available. Okay, I'll check this theater. Well, only the front row is available. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to do AMC with no reserved seats and just get there and make sure I get in the theater early.
Fingers crossed.
Which was fine, but all the reserved seat theaters, man, those theaters are sold.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, it's the second weekend. Okay. All right.
The movie's doing well.
Oh, yeah.
The movie is doing quite well.
So, yeah, that was Incredibles 2. I have not seen Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, unfortunately. I say unfortunately, like, I want to see it. I plan to see it because I'm curious, but it's not exactly like, man, I've got to see this movie, like, because I'm just kind of unsure. But maybe Bobby, you can shed some light. I assume you've seen it.
Michelle, you gasped. Why'd you gasp?
Oh, so I've been very on the fence with Fallen Kingdom. I've been very and I'm a Jurassic World person. I like it. I like it. It makes me happy because it's almost to points, especially in the later movies, kind of almost ridiculous. But I still like it. I don't know. Anyways, I like Jurassic Park a lot. I really enjoyed Jurassic World. And there were some things I thought were kind of campy, but I still enjoyed it. This one, I just remember seeing the trailers and being like, I don't know how I feel about this. And I still don't know how I feel about this. And so there's a part of me that wants to see it because it's Jurassic World. And I'm going to go see it because that's just what I don't know. I can't explain. I'm just going to go see it. But I haven't had a major drive to go see it. Having said that, though, getting to the theater today and seeing how insanely busy the parking lot was, I was like, oh, wow. Oh, that's right. Jurassic World's out and Incredibles 2's out. Maybe I should see Jurassic World? No. And I actually had to kind of like think about it. I'm like, no, I'm seeing Incredibles 2. This is what's happening. But yeah, there's a part of me that wishes I had the chance to have watched it this weekend, and there just wasn't enough time. It's just, personal life is busy. But I need to see it this week. I think that needs to happen. Although, depending on what you're going to say, Bobby, I might just take my time on it. Maybe. We'll see.
What should we do, Bobby?
What should we do, Bobby?
Well,
Run out or wait?
I feel like you need to see it just because if you've seen all the other ones, you should see this as well. My thing where I think about Jurassic Park, it's interesting to me because I, and as well as everyone else, hold the first movie in very high regard.
Oh, yeah.
It was such a phenomenon and a way of experiencing something completely different, and seeing those dinosaurs for the first time was very awe-inspiring. And then after that, all the other subsequent movies maybe have some moments in them that are good, but essentially the franchise has changed from being about this kind of talk about what would you do in this scenario? Is this the right thing to do in bringing these creatures back to the planet? And from then, it's turned into kind of just a monster movie with the monsters being the dinosaurs. And there seems to be, in at least within the ones where we've gotten Jurassic World and now this one, there's that expectation of trying to hold it to the standard of that first one. And I don't really know why, because there hasn't been another movie in the Jurassic Park series like the first one. So at this point, you should just relegate it to just being just kind of a popcorn flick that's a monster movie, because I don't know that it can ever be what that first one was again, unless Steven Spielberg directs it himself again, because everyone else seems to be taking it into a different direction than wherever else it could have gone. And that's kind of how I approached seeing these movies. And with the first Jurassic World, I really enjoyed it. I just felt like it had some of the sensibilities that the first movie had, and it added the ingredient of fun back into it, and I had a lot of fun with it. I had problems with some of the things in the movie as well, but overall I enjoyed it, and I thought it was a good return to form. So my expectation level going into this one was on par and equal to what I came out of the last one at, which is it should just be fun, should have a good time.
Yeah.
And so going into it with that, the end result for me, it just felt really flat, I guess. It just didn't, even to the expectations of me just wanting to see essentially dinosaurs terrorize people. It did that, but it did it in the lowest common denominator of ways. There's so many times that the movie asks you to make a leap in logic, and that characters behaving a certain sort of way in order for this thing to happen. And it's all in such a way that you're just shaking your head, because it's all in the vein of you're thinking the same movie cliche of don't go into that door kind of thing. Or, it's a lot of that. And so you're just like, why would any of these characters be making these choices if they've already experienced all these other movies in a sense of knowing what's capable, what can be, what can happen. And so I cannot count the many times that I was shaking my head watching the movie. And the highlights, there are some really good sequences in the movie, particularly the one where you see in the trailer where they're on the island and they're running as the volcano is starting to erupt and spread. That's a pretty good thrilling sequence in there. And there's another one that happens a little bit later in the movie. But ultimately, the thing that really I think drew me into the movie, and I wish there had been more of it, was Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. And more specifically, Chris Pratt. Just anytime that he's on screen and the things that he does works really well. I felt like the addition of the two new cast characters that they added into it, one played by Justice Smith and the other one, Daniela Pineda, I don't know, they just felt like cartoon characters. They were stereotypical in a way that one's this science, IT kind of guy, and he's particularly exactly what you would picture in that kind of a person. And then the other girl, she's kind of this millennial kind of new age doctor. I think they call her some sort of a veterinarian, a dino veterinarian kind of thing. And it's just, I don't know, it's very eye-rolling and inducing, and just again, a lot of the choices that are made by the characters just was nauseating to the point you're just like, come on, this is just there's a level of believability, and then where you're just asking too much of me to just give on good faith, and there was a lot of that. But
see, I always have issues when that happens in movies, and I feel like it pulls me out of the situation, like especially when it just keeps happening. I'm like, I'm getting pulled out of this film, like, because all I'm thinking is, how dumb are you, or how dumb do you think I am? Like, like to watching Alien Covenant was just like, oh my God. Like, like I just think of that film where that film was just so painful, because I'm like, You're asking me to think that that's how a normal person in any no.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, and it
That's
happens literally
concerning for
within
me.
it happened literally within the first 2 minutes of watching the movie.
Oh,
It was
see.
just like, um, see, I don't think this will spoil anything because it's the beginning of the movie, but there's an expedition kind of thing of these people that are underwater that are returning to, what is it? Is how do you say it? Isla Nubla?
Isla Nubla,
And
yeah.
yeah, and they're underwater and they're going to go retrieve something. And
Yeah, but the really big
and they're
fish from last time's out there, right?
well, that's my point. Someone literally says to one of the other characters, because the other character is nervous and they're in this underwater sub, and the guy goes, "There's no, you don't need to be afraid. There's nothing left here, or there's nothing here anymore." I'm like, wait, what? Did you guys saw that big thing from the last movie?
Right.
Why?
Yeah, that bad
It
boy's
didn't
loose.
die.
Like,
Where do you think it went? So
right.
it's just like, okay, so we're starting off bad, and it kind
Yeah.
of goes from there. But there's a lot of that. So, yeah, it was just. But where it did end and leave off does have me curious as to where Colin Trevorrow will take the final one in this series. I mean,
Right.
assuming it's the final one, but at least in this trilogy of new movies, where that will go, because it does lead to an interesting premise as to what can happen next.
Oh, I'm sure there'll be a third one.
Oh, it's. I mean, it's in
Sure.
development.
Sure,
It's
Yeah,
it's already
like-
made 700 million after this weekend worldwide. So
Yeah, it's done really well overseas in Asia. Like crazy good over there.
but yeah, I still say you should watch it and just kind of make the make a judgment for yourself.
I mean, I would say. I mean, I'm definitely gonna watch it no matter what. It's
Yeah.
more like, depending on what Bobby says, do I try to fit it in like in the middle of the week this week,
Right, right.
or do I wait a little bit? But my other thing is too is that if there's one benefit for a movie like this, even if it's not that great, it's seeing it in a really great theater because it.
Yeah.
It
you know,
enhances it
so
a
I'm
lot.
like, well, maybe I should jump on seeing it in like a Dolby Cinema screen.
Yeah.
While I have the chance.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Because what's the next big thing? Is it Ant-Man and Wasp? That's in 2 weeks, right?
That's 2 weeks.
in 2
So yeah, that's probably. I don't know what's
I'm not
coming
sure
out this coming weekend.
I'm just curious because like I don't like would anything kick it out of the Dolbys, like this coming weekend that we're going into.
I have a feeling no, but
That's kind of what I'm thinking too. And so, because I will admit, I feel like this film would benefit extremely well from seeing it in a Dolby, and it would probably enhance visually and sound wise the experience of the film, which that's what that theater is for, obviously. But it's one of those films like this movie was made to be shown in this way.
Yeah, I would gather that it's most likely going to still be there for another week.
Okay,
past
cool.
this one. The next big release is Sicario: Day of the Soldado. Is that how you said that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm very excited about, but I don't see that taking
I
over
can't see
large
that.
format.
No.
screen
No, I can't
at
see that. I
all.
can't see that kicking anything. Yeah.
So, get a little time to see it,
And then there's Ant-Man and the Wasp.
which I still need to buy tickets for. Actually,
Oh
I
my
still
God.
haven't bought tickets for that.
I'm so excited for that movie. It just looks like it's so much fun.
Speaking of buying tickets, so I'm a Movie Pass user. Bobby, you're a Movie Pass user. Are you going to join me in jumping ship here for AMC soon? Because I think that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the time of seeing stuff for Movie Pass is kind of winding down. There's still some aspects to it that are good that will be where, okay, if you aren't near an AMC, then yeah, this is still a good thing for you to have.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're anywhere within a good few mile radius of an AMC, I feel like with their new plan, there's no need to necessarily hold on to having the Movie Pass anymore.
Yeah, because I mean, in one sense, Movie Pass, like you just said, especially if you want to see a movie occasionally not in an AMC theater, it's still, if you think you're going to see a movie not in an AMC theater once a month,
Right.
Boom, you've paid for Movie Pass. I mean,
But-
unless you're seeing like a really early showing that's only $7 or something. But like today, I saw Incredibles. It was standard format. I think the cost came out to like 10 something. Boom, I paid for my month of Movie Pass.
Right.
I made it worth it for this month. I don't have to see anything else, and basically I have not lost any money. But yeah, I mean, backstory for anyone listening who doesn't know, AMC announced, and I don't have details in front of me, but off the top of my head, they announced that basically their answer to Movie Pass, which, and correct me on any details, Bobby, if you know that something I'm getting wrong, but I think it's about $20 a month. It allows you to see, is it 3 movies a week? Mm-hmm. And it includes premium format screens.
So Dolby IMAX.
3D.
3D.
Wow.
And from my understanding, you'll be able to buy your tickets ahead of time.
Oh, hello.
Like way ahead of time. When I say ahead of time,
does
like
not.
no, Movie Pass, you basically have to be near the theater to check in and then go buy the ticket.
Oh.
Except there's a handful, like there's certain theaters with Movie Pass that are participating in, like, you can buy directly from the app, I guess. But
Yeah.
like there's none here in Orlando. I think I've checked.
I feel the death of Movie Pass coming.
Well, it's funny. I got an email. All of us Movie Pass users got an email basically like a couple days later from
His
Movie
response.
Pass, kind of going, "Hey, this is the stuff we have coming." I don't have that email in front of me either, but it seemed to kind of be a reaction of like, "Okay, guys, just so you know, like these features are coming." Like it sounds like Movie Pass is going to go through to like a different tiered kind of pricing where if you want to pay more, you can add like large format screens. One nice option I will say that Movie Pass has coming is being able to bring a friend. That's definitely my biggest negative, is that, for instance, Michelle,
you and I,
we go to movies together all the time. And when we do it, I have a Movie Pass subscription, you don't. It's like I can't just buy the tickets together ahead of time to make sure, okay, boom, we have 2 seats. Like I'll have to go to the kiosk, buy my ticket with my Movie Pass, and then you have to get your ticket and make sure, okay, let's see if I can get the seat right next to you.
for the reserved seating
Yeah,
theaters. Yeah,
you know.
like we have to be with the box office guy and like, okay, dude, like, can you like, yeah.
Definitely a big negative. And that's one aspect of the AMC thing I'm curious about, is like how that will work with buying tickets with other people kind of thing,
Right.
But
you could do it online. You could do it in advance. Those are some big pluses. Big pluses.
I mean,
Well, I think the way it would work, and obviously it's not in effect yet. I think it starts on Tuesday.
yeah, I think it does.
The way I'm thinking it would work is if you tried to reserve a seat, let's say for 2 people, and you are part of this program, the one ticket, it will recognize if you're part of the plan that it'll reserve both seats, but one of those you'll end up having to pay for out of pocket or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Through whatever card or using. So you'll still be able to get and reserve multiple seats. It's just that one of those will be part of the plan, and then the other one, or however many, you'll have to pay for.
Yeah, and I think that too. The question though is, out of curiosity, Michelle, say you got a AMC subscription and I got one, and we wanted to like kind of like, I'll use the example of like a big movie's dropping, like the tickets for episode 9.
Oh my God,
And
right.
it's like you got to buy your tickets crazy fast, and you basically need one person to do it, not the 2 of us
Right,
trying to get.
because we do Dolby, we reserve seats, it's the whole thing.
It would be nice if then like I could like, if you had like an ID number, ID name, I could just put yours in and basically under one transaction get both tickets together.
No, that's I fingers crossed, that would be awesome.
Hopefully that's how that would work too. But yeah, when it comes for me, I see so many movies in Dolby Cinema at AMC.
Oh my God, we see so many movies in Dolby Cinema.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer to do this.
Oh my
AMC
God,
deal.
it really is.
It would pay for itself under one ticket, really, or one usage of Dolby.
Pretty much.
Because
Pretty
it's
much,
like
yeah.
if you don't go matinee, it's already like $19.
I was gonna say
think.
it's like $18 for a 7 p.m. showing in Dolby for one person. That's just a walk in the door.
And then I mean, for me, unfortunately with my busy schedule, seeing, it would be a crazy week if I saw 3 movies in a week.
Oh, sweet. Good
I'd be
Lord,
like, holy
right?
shit, man, I'm going nuts.
Man.
So, yeah, I think that's going to be happening.
Right.
So, I'm kind of excited about it. It'll be nice.
Yeah, me too.
No, I think that's probably gonna have to happen. Like it's just God, that bad boy would pay. Yeah, it's so good. Such a good deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Movie Pass.
So Movie Pass. Sorry, Movie Pass.
Sorry, Movie Pass, but unfortunately, I think your death is on the horizon.
I'm sure Movie Pass isn't going to make it easy to cancel either. It's probably going to have to make a phone call probably to do it.
Well, you have to make. I was going to say, for a while, I felt like you were having issues, and so you were making a phone call to them. Like, you made a few phone calls, I think, when you first started. Right?
Oh yeah, and that's been a big complaint with them, is that their customer service has not been excellent.
Well, that'll be fun to cancel later.
Yeah.
Good times. So.
What
else you know?
What else do I know? I know somebody watched one of their I Challenge You films.
I did finally watch my I Challenge You.
So the last I Challenge You, I challenged you.
Okay, I almost was going to say, I was like, I can't remember if it was you or Yasha for some reason, and that was in my head.
It was me. What did I watch? It was a long film. Oh yeah, it was The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford.
Oh, yeah.
That put me in the kind of more historical, like, mindsets. And I was like, you know what, Michelle, you haven't seen Lincoln. So that needs to happen.
Lincoln.
Yeah. So, and Bobby, you just recently watched it, just kind of randomly on your own. You hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
You really liked it, didn't you?
I did like it. It was different than what I was expecting and had in my head. So it turned out to be more than what I was expecting, and really caught into Daniel Day-Lewis's portrayal of Abraham Lincoln. So I did like it a lot.
What'd you think, Michelle?
I'll give this short little backstory. So I have a number of Civil War and just history in general and presidential history buffs in my family. And then I spent a good chunk of my youth living just outside of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And let me tell you, you learn a lot about a specific battle when you basically live in that town.
Right.
So when it came to that kind of history and that aspect of Lincoln and his presidency, I know a lot about that section. And so I didn't know exactly what to expect watching this film, because the title is just Lincoln. So I'm like, are we looking at an entire lifetime here? Are we looking at just a few years? Or are we looking at just a snapshot of time frame? Just a quick little thing. And that's what we got, basically. It's this 1 month, maybe 6 weeks, I guess, basically leading up to Lincoln's assassination and what he accomplished. Anyways, so let me get into this a little bit, but I will say I enjoyed the film. I don't think I can even really say that I highly liked the film. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it is. I will totally agree. Daniel Day-Lewis's performance as Lincoln is outstanding. And I think the story itself is really well done. And it is a longer film, but at no major point in time did I go, this is so long and it's dragging. It was more like, this is long, but I'm enjoying every moment that I'm seeing of this. Like, I'm like, it's totally okay that this is long. It's necessary to have the story unfold. And honestly, it's one of those things where it's like, I look at it, and if I were to, if you were to look at this film and basically chop out a few different things here and there, I think you'd be chopping out a lot of the personal things that were happening with him and his life and his kids and his wife, and the personalization of him and the things happening in his mind. And if you cut all that out, it would have been boring, and it would not have given the depth of how his mindset was during certain time frames, based on his emotions. Like, I don't know. I think it was just done really well. And I don't know. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story itself, but I definitely am not in love with it. It's definitely not one of my favorite Spielberg films, I will say. But it's good. It's a good film, and it's a good story, and it's told very well. And then I know, I'm sorry, it's kind of lackluster, but there it is.
There it is.
There it is.
Yeah, one thing I did like. I mean, I very much liked the film, and one of the things as a biopic I liked is that it wasn't let's have the life story of Lincoln and let's, I definitely liked that it focused on a small period of time, which by the way, it was the last 4 months of his life.
Okay. Yeah, because it was kind of like he had that one meeting, and then yeah. Because there's time between the time everything kind of comes to fruition with the amendment, and then there's a few months, and then his assassination. You just sparked a thought that I had. I will say, so there's the beginning of the film. I mean, the very beginning of the film.
Very first scene.
I really enjoyed the opening of that film. I've got to say, it was just done really well, and it's just Lincoln talking to two African American soldiers in the Union, and they're trying to convey their appreciation for what they've been handed in this situation, and then the other one's kind of like, yeah, but so much more can be done, and he starts going and going, and I'm like, he's bringing up absolutely the most valid points. And it's like, and there's things that even to this day I'm like, this is we still have these issues at this point in time, and I don't know, it was played out really well. And then I guess that scene, the point of it was that it was much after Gettysburg, but the address was memorized, and it was just the way it played out. It was just like, God dang, that scene alone was one of the most solid movie scenes in film, I would say, I've had. Like, if I had a list of like 50 best movie scenes, that scene was really good.
No, it is really good, especially that the one guy couldn't finish the speech, and then the last part of the soldier just kind of walking away, finishing the speech. It's
so good.
It was very Spielberg, and it was very good.
It was so good. Like, I was just like, and yeah, I mean, I don't know that speech verbatim.
Right.
I know that speech extremely well. And so, I'm kind of like going through it in my head, and I'm like, and then just the way he was saying it, he's walking, I was like, oh God, this is so good. And so I will say that scene kind of set me up pretty high bar for the film, and I'm not saying that it was not met throughout the film, but that scene was just so good that it was just like, I definitely had this moment of, Jesus Christ, is this how this film's gonna play out? This is gonna be amazing. Like, I was like, oh my God,
okay.
Like, this movie's
I think what I liked
baller.
about it, the thing what made me enjoy it so much was the angle it took. It wasn't just about the Civil War or the fact of how everything kind of went down. It was this idea of, hey, we need to get these votes in order to make this thing pass, and how do we go about doing it? And the way that they go about doing it is what I found interesting, and how they were able to make it work, but like how barely it seemed to work, because of all the different things and angles they had to take in order to convince people who really didn't seem like they wanted to go with that vote. So it was, I thought that played out pretty well, and in a way that I had never heard or knew about. So it was informative, and as well as being historical.
It was almost like watching like an old school version of The West Wing. Like, in certain senses, like with the guys that were out to try to get the votes to get the last remaining votes from the last kind of holdouts.
Right.
Like, watching them interact with people and watching them kind of go through what they had to go through. It was like, in a weird way, it was almost like watching like a really, really, really old version of The West Wing.
Yeah, because it's so political.
Yes.
And getting into the really nitty-gritty details of politics.
Right.
In Washington.
Yeah.
And no, I see what you mean by that.
No, it was good. I mean, I enjoyed the film. I can't say I love the film, but I really enjoyed it. And yeah, again, that opening scene just, I think, stole the movie away, quite honestly. It's probably one of the best scenes in a film. It's definitely up on the list for sure in my head.
Right. So
with that, it's my turn to challenge somebody. And I always feel bad about challenging somebody who's not on. And unfortunately, Yasha isn't with us today. And I feel kind of bad about that. So I'm like, okay. Because I kind of wanted to challenge him. Because I feel like he hasn't had one in a little while. But there's another person who hasn't had one in a little while. And that's Bobby.
Yeah, this is true. It's been a while.
It has. And so I'm looking at, because we all kind of wrote little lists of just random movies that, that way we can help each other figure out this I challenge you. So that way we can look at each other's lists, and I can see a movie on there and be like, oh my God, I love that film. You haven't seen that film? Oh, that's, So I'm sitting here looking at Bobby's list, and I'm like, oh, I could kind of keep with this whole, like, let's do a timepiece kind of a film. And the first one on your list, I'm looking at it, I'm going, it's such a good film and I like it so much. Should I put that one? And then I see this other film, and it's funny because I was just talking about this film. I see this other one and I'm like, it's fitting because it takes place in the dead heat of the summer, which we are officially in summer now that we've gone through the summer. We're in summer solstice. It is hotter than I don't even know what right now. So part of me is kind of like, feel like maybe you should watch that one, and you'd kind of be like, yeah. I can't even imagine doing that without air conditioning. Kill me now. Anyways,
I don't even know which film you're talking about. That's what's so interesting.
Well, the thing is I kind of want to just choose it now because you're going to be like, how did you get to that thought process?
Okay.
And actually, yeah, I think I am. Screw it. Because this movie it was actually just shown at our art house theater here in town, and I almost went to it because I have not seen this film in a long time, but it's very enjoyable. And anyways, so Bobby, my I challenge you is going to be West Side Story.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to go see a musical.
Interesting. I totally wouldn't have guessed that would have been your pick.
Say what?
What'd you say, David?
I said soon to be a Spielberg film, right? I mean, while we're talking about...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, there it is.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say this film, it's a... And I hate using this term now because it's been done. It's a modern day telling of Romeo and Juliet, taking place in the 50s, 60s. Anyways,
not quite modern day then.
it's no longer technically modern day, and so in a way, it's kind of a period piece in its own right. You know, it's mid-century modern here. But the music in it is quite good. It's quite phenomenal. There's definitely some spectacular. There's some acting, but then there's some really good acting, and then the dancing is just. And everybody will always tell you, like, you see the dancing in this film, and it was ahead of its time in film musicals in certain ways because it was taking dance from the streets that people maybe weren't seeing in growing up on a farm out in the middle of America, and they were seeing this kind of dancing going on in this film. And so I think it sparked a lot of people's creative sides that, they may not have realized that they wanted to become a dancer or they wanted to become a song person. But anyways, so no, West Side Story, it's a very good film, and I think you'll enjoy it. And yeah, it takes place in like the dead of the summer in New York City. So dead heat of summer. So I'm like, oh, here you go, Bobby. It'll keep you in the spirit of the summer. Woo woo.
It's interesting too because it's one of those movies that's on the list that makes so many different lists of critics and everything. So I'm always fearful when one of those movies, it's time for me to watch it, or I'll sit down and decide to watch it because there's always that weight of expectation. And I know David has run into this in just modern movies where all the critics seem to love it, and then you kind of come out of it and you're just like, really? And then you kind of feel alienated, or do you even know what you're talking about because you don't like this movie as much as everyone else. So and especially in a movie of this nature, it's I feel like, will this resonate with me in any sort of way that it will be able to get the essence of it, even if there's maybe certain aspects that don't hold up today. I have no idea. I don't know if anyone who's seen it and hold it in reverence has rewatched it and said, yeah, it still holds up. I haven't seen anything like that. But to me, it's one of those movies that I feel like it does scare me in that sense of, will I watch it and then be like, nah, I don't really see what everyone's talking about. And it has nothing to do with the age of the movie, because there's certain movies that are older than that I've seen and in modern day and thought like, yeah, that's still really good, even though it was made back in, whatever year. So I have no fear of that. It's just the actual story in and of itself. Will it be something that I connect to and can see what everyone else saw when they did have a chance to witness it for their first time?
I mean, I will say, it's social tensions between different races. It's class tensions between these two races. So, I mean, it definitely brings up things that shoot, we're still dealing with this stuff, so I can't see you not coming out of it going, I didn't connect with anything. I feel like you're gonna be like, yeah, you're still race relation issues, and yeah, they portray that really well in this. But I will say, like, and I'm trying not to build up too much, but like, I think Rita Moreno steals the movie most of the time when she's on, when she gets a scene, when she's on camera, and she's fabulous in it. And yeah, so I think you're gonna enjoy it. And even if you don't, that's okay. It's fine.
Yeah. It'll be interesting.
Right.
I feel like, because I also haven't seen this movie. What? I thought you knew that.
I did not know that. And you're Mr. I do enjoy musicals, and I'm kind of, yeah, wow.
Yeah, sorry.
I did not know that.
I don't even know what I was going to say.
You just started off by saying you do feel like, and then
no, I guess kind of like what you were saying with the expectations thing. I feel like I get what you're saying with that totally. But then in this case, I feel like, I don't know. I think overall, I would expect that when I finally see West Side Story, I will just enjoy it. It'll be a good musical. Yeah. But I do agree with you though, in that, am I gonna walk away from it and feel like, man, it's a good musical, but because it is really highly regarded, like
it is
absolutely classic Broadway musical film that in one sense I would expect to watch and go, holy shit, that was just, that's one of the greatest movies I've ever seen, kind of thing. And
I'm gonna tell you right now, the day they put Hamilton on film, hold on to your butts, kids. It's gonna be freaking awesome. Freaking awesome. Anyways.
Are you snapping your fingers right now?
And you haven't even seen Hamilton.
I haven't seen Hamilton.
Wait.
I know it's gonna be awesome because I've listened to it. I've listened
such
to
confidence, made me feel like
I know.
Dude.
That's why I had to say that, because you were definitely saying it like you've seen this show.
I'm telling you, I've listened to the book. It's amazing. I've listened to it multiple times. I can sing the songs. It is sweet baby Jesus. The hype that is out there is real. It is sincere, and I will admit, like, I don't know if I need to donate, one of my kidneys to get out to go see this when it comes to Orlando, because I've got to see this play. But I know what you're saying though, like.
And I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I feel like there's been shows that are just incredibly, just huge Broadway shows like Hamilton, that really stand out and have insanely big runs and are just ridiculously popular, but then like get a film version and they're good.
Like
but
Chicago. Like
the thing that comes to mind to me is The Producers.
Yeah.
Like, I lived in New York when The Producers was on Broadway, and that was huge.
Oh yeah. That was a revival.
Yeah, exactly.
At that time.
And it was just insane with Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick.
Right.
And then they get those two guys to make the film. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that film is fine. It's good. I like it. But I hadn't seen the stage show, so when I went to watch the film, I think my expectations were pretty far effing up there. And then I watched it, and I was like, I mean, it was entertaining, but this was the musical everyone has been freaking out about.
The original Producers was better.
Yeah, and
on film,
I've seen most of that, I think, and I liked that. Yeah. And again, I like the newer one. It just, my expectations were super high considering how insanely popular that show was, and then when I saw the movie. Again, I liked it, but I didn't think it was that spectacular.
See, I think that's how it was with me with Chicago, because when they were developing Chicago as a film, Chicago had a revival prior to that, just recently.
Right.
And it exploded again, and it was huge. That's why they're like, oh, we're putting this bad boy on film. And so my expectations for Chicago were just pretty freaking high, because it was just all that everybody's talking about. And I watched the movie, I was kind of like, oh, okay. I guess I see what everybody's talking about. So yeah. Anyway, but I will say, West Side Story, yes, is highly regarded in history. Is one of the best musicals that was put onto film. And I think it was historically at the time when this film was made in. Now I'm gonna shoot myself. Gone down this road.
The film was made?
57?
Well, the Broadway show, I think, was made in 57.
Anyways.
Anyway.
Oh, it's 61. The film is in 61. So I will say, though, it's just the mixing of so many different aspects at the time. It's you guys just have to see it. It stands up in certain ways, and I get why it's highly regarded, because if you think about film to that point, to 1961, if you think of it in that kind of mindset, you'll be like, man, this really was kind of cutting edge in certain ways.
Then I can play that game, kind of like I've done with other movies, where I go, well, there's a Spielberg version coming.
Oh no!
Do I wait for that one and just experience that with nothing in my mind, or do I see this one first? I don't know.
That's how I still keep feeling about the girl with the dragon tattoo. It's like, do I want to watch the David Fincher version first, or do I want to watch the Swedish version first?
Now
I still keep that honestly, that decision has kept me from actually watching it.
No, I'm with you on that.
Crippling.
Well, now
I'm super with you on that.
Because you're saying that, now I want to, because I've seen the Fincher film now, and I've been curious about the other one. So now I kind of want to go watch the other one and then be able to tell you, Bobby, look, Bobby, you should do this or that one first.
That would work for me, because it really literally has kept me. It literally has kept me from watching the movie.
I agree. That's one of the reasons I haven't seen it.
Which one.
Yeah, I agree. I have the same problem. I'm right there with you. That's half the reasons I haven't seen either of them, because I've been like, I just don't want to get super bummed by one or the other.
Yeah.
Right. I'll have to watch it and I'll let you know.
Oh, I would appreciate that so much.
All right.
And I do believe it's on Netflix, so you might be able to download it and watch it in your spare time.
Perfect.
You mentioned something about the fact that it's a musical movie, and it reminded me of something I had wanted to ask you, David, in particular, when we were talking about The Incredibles. Is what did you think of Michael Giacchino's score for The Incredibles 2?
I mean, I thought it was good. It's just, I don't know. I really liked it. It's perfect for the style of movie. And another thing I like about The Incredibles so much is that it's the style of the film. It's like it's in like almost like the 50s, but it's not. It's like modern, but it's got this style of the TVs and everything, and the music plays into that. No, it's really cool. I liked his score for the first film, and
I mean, he plays on the same themes from that. I mean, it's just basically just kind of redoing some things, but then he added a few different things,
right?
Especially like they gave Frozone and Elastigirl and Mr. Incredible their own little theme songs, which you hear at the end credits.
Yeah.
And those were kind of cute. I was like, this is kind of cute. I kind of like these. But yeah, no, we stayed the whole credits. I'm watching and listening, and I'm like, it's really good again. It's really, really good again. The different stuff he put in here, and it definitely has a little more. I don't know. There's a little more edge to it with this one, and I like that. Yeah.
So, and you brought up something just now too that makes me want to ask: have they ever established what year The Incredibles takes place in?
No, and that's the thing that's so interesting about it, is because you're basically visually and aesthetically, the way they have the lines are done, everything is very mid-century. It's very 1950s. And then the music and like TVs and the cars, just everything, the aesthetic, the houses, the architecture, just the whole thing, even on color palettes they're using, it's very mid-century through the entire thing. And they're still using telephones with cords that are attached to walls and
there's
stuff.
no cell phones or anything.
Yeah, that's true.
But then they have, there's certain other telecommunicational things that are happening that are far advanced, that are more advanced than we are now. So on one side, it's almost like they're letting the whole like availability of the James Bond idea of having this technology out there and available, but you're only seeing it because of the context that they're in. Or does it actually exist, but they're just very happily living in a mid-century kind of aesthetics? I don't know, but it's kind of cool. I like that it's kind of a mystery, that it's just kind of this thing. Yeah,
I kind of like that because it doesn't need to label itself as this. It's in the 60s, it's in the 50s, It's in the 90s.
Modern
it
day.
doesn't matter. Like, And it's kind of cool that it's kind of a mixture. And you mentioned Bond, and I thought about that too. Like, it feels very Bond, I think, because it feels like an early Bond film.
Both of them, yeah.
Just because of the style, but yet the technology in it,
Mm-hmm.
I think immediately makes you think of early James Bond, Sean Connery, James Bond movies.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, there's literally an entire sequence in the first film that's almost identical to a James Bond film, and you're watching it going, look at that. Which is great. I love it, though. I love it, though.
Maybe I look into it a little too deeply, and by this I mean really I've only just really thought about it within the last day or two, but I get the sense that maybe it takes place in a modern day, as in like it could be 2018, but just in a world where technology hasn't really advanced in the way that it has in our own world. Just because I obviously it's hard to really base it on this, especially for the fact that it is quote unquote a kids movie. But in the way that they treat the character of Frozone, it's not like he's looked at as, oh, he's this black guy kind of thing in a sense. Right. He's just, it seems very much like contemporary into our day, to where, you know, it wouldn't be a big deal of this black character and being this superhero and everything of that nature. So as it would be if it was in the 60s or 50s of that sort. So I feel like it's modern, but they just make it to where technology isn't to where it is today.
Yeah. So do you guys want, like, Michelle, do you want a third film?
Yes, if it could be as good as these first two. And I mean, I hate to be like to put that such a simple label to it, but honestly, yeah, I would love a third film if it can hold up the way this one has held up. And also that it doesn't take 14 years to get done. And having said that, like, I don't want them to bust this bad boy out in like 2 years from now, but like if they got one done in like say 5 years from now, that'd be great. My concern is, you know, for Craig T. Nelson, he's an older gentleman. So, you know, do they get a script? Do they start recording voices and then they do animations later? I don't know. I don't know. But yes, I'm super okay with having a third film. I would say if it literally kind of came out about, say, 5 or 6 years from now, that'd be great. Spend the time you need, get the script right, get the story right, and that'd be awesome.
Bobby, what do you think?
I wouldn't say I want one. This seems to be a good way to end it. I am curious, because then I fall back into that same aspect that I did before this movie was released, was now with the third one, do I want to see them aged up a little bit more, or do I want to see it come back to where it is now and just continue on? So I think that is the thing that makes it more confusing in my mind as to whether or not I would want to see a third one. And this one feels like it ends in a way that is very satisfying, and that I don't necessarily feel the need to see another one. That being said, obviously, if they make it, I will watch it. But and especially if it's Brad Bird returning, because if it was without him, then I'd be a little bit more hesitant.
Yeah,
if Brad Bird doesn't do it, I'm out.
Yeah, I'd feel like it'd have to be Brad Bird at this point. I mean, the first two have been so successful. I almost don't think Disney would do it without him. You know?
Yeah.
And for me, I've definitely said this many times before. I am overall not a fan of Pixar making sequels. Like, they've been kind of hit or miss for me. With that said, this was an excellent example of a sequel by them.
Dude. Yeah.
And I think it worked that they waited so long. I mean, I know for Incredibles fans like you, Michelle, like, it sucked having to wait so long to see a second movie, but, you know, they didn't rush it. And I don't know the details behind the decision to finally do it. If it was really just a matter of we finally really locked down a good story, or they just waited. But it seemed to have worked to wait this long. And part of me feels like it could work to wait a while again. Maybe not 14 years, maybe 10 years. I don't know. But you're right. Then there's aspects you got to think about, like Craig T. Nelson's not getting any younger, and it's like, say you had to make the choice of making the movie without him, I would be like, I mean, we all know there's been lots of animated films that over the years, a new person starts doing a voice for a character and they basically sound the same, and it works. But I don't know. In this case, I don't know if that would work. So yeah, I'd be all for seeing a third one, but I feel like there's no rush. Like, just wait a little bit. Maybe 5 or 6 years, make another one.
That's what I'm saying. I can handle 6 years. I think at most I could handle 10, but I really, somewhere between 6 and 10 years would be great for me.
And I think for me, I kind of like if you're going to have a franchise of films or just a trilogy of films, like if you kind of set a standard for this is how we usually do it, to stay with that. Like for me, you went from 1 basically right into 2. There's really no time gap at all. I kind of like then you continue to make them that way.
I was gonna say,
I would say that's one of the things I didn't like about The Last Jedi. You know, every Star Wars movie we've ever gotten, there's always been a gap. There's always been something that's happened in between these movies and we haven't really seen it play out. But then Last Jedi came out and I was like, nope, this is immediately right after Force Awakens, and I was like, this is right off the bat, this is not Star Wars for me, you know. Anyway,
okay.
But I think for me, if you're gonna make a third one, I'd like it to be okay. Let's just, you can see it without spoiling anything. This movie ends where they're moving on to something else, and you could just kind of do the same thing like you did with this film. Just go right into it.
Well, now, David, you just opened up a can of worms, because we're gonna need to talk about Star Wars at some point, because now that you say that I feel like is less of Rian Johnson's problem than it was that JJ set it up to be his problem, in the sense that it ends with that scene with Rey and Luke. And where do you go from there? Can you really jump time after something like that? Because you're expecting to see something happen with that turn of events. So it's like, well, whose decision was it to kind of leave it that way, to where we wouldn't be able to get a good time jump? I suppose you could, but it would feel kind of disjointed in a way. So.
I don't know. I mean, you're right. That is a big can of worms. And I don't want to go too much into it, because actually you and I may do a little bonus episode this week talking about Star Wars, which is something we've already been planning on doing. And maybe we'll talk more about it then. But because you're right, because there's no doubt that I loved Force Awakens, but I had mixed feelings about the ending of Force Awakens, because that also was an ending of a Star Wars movie that I was like, this is different. Like, this doesn't, if there was anything about Force Awakens that didn't feel like Star Wars, it was that very moment right at the end of Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And so, in that sense, you're right. But with that said, I actually think you could have very easily have had a little bit of a time jump into Last Jedi without seeing specifically in that moment, like how that scene played out. And then it still makes sense. I think that's possible. But I do agree that even the way JJ ended Force Awakens, it was kind of like, it was kind of weird. But.
And now that we'll have to talk about it, because now that you say that, it makes me feel like if they had a little bit of a time jump, it could have changed the whole tone of that movie. Like, you would have had a little bit more.
I'm not saying like years.
Either. I'm just saying, like, maybe even if it was just a few weeks later.
Right, exactly. But go on, sorry.
You'd have some time to have had it breathe, and maybe some of the decisions that she makes could have already been set in motion during a time we hadn't seen with her and Kylo, and made some of those things strong. It would have made a little bit of a difference, I think, if there had been some space there.
Right. But we could go on a long time talking about that.
You start talking Star Wars.
Yeah, which maybe, like I said, we'll do later this week and get another little episode about that out there, because I feel like I have a lot of Star Wars built up in me right now that needs to get out, because there's been so much Star Wars drama lately that we'll record a 6-hour Star Wars episode this week. I'll get it all out. Michelle's giving me a funky look right now. With that said, it's time to wrap this up.
Because of Michelle's funky look.
Oh, he's already gotten the stink eye a few times this evening.
Whoa.
Oh,
Because I didn't see West Side Story?
No, it's the consideration of seeing the newer West Side Story over the other. Oh,
You haven't even seen it, and he hasn't even been made yet, but like...
I can't even look at you right now. This is little.
Wow. I said something that was sacrilegious, apparently.
Shame on you.
This Spielberg film could be the ultimate. It could be amazing.
It could be amazing. You still gotta watch the Spider one, the original. Gotta see it.
Maybe I should have seen it on Broadway first. That would have been the way to do it.
Now we're gonna...
See, I mean, I'm just saying, if you want to get down to origins. Anyway, so to everyone listening, thanks for listening to the show. It's good to have you. Please let us know your thoughts on the show. Hit us up on Twitter at Flickr_effect. You can also find us on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, by searching for Flickr Effect without that underscore in it. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us. And if you like the show, go on iTunes, leave us a very positive review. That would be great. It helps us find more listeners.
Woohoo, woohoo. We like that.
With that, I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
I'm Michelle Hillard.
Thanks for listening.